I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, one of our regular guests. I was one of the first people to put him on. I kept reading his stuff, and he would send me his stuff, and I thought, wow, this guy's smart, man. This guy's very well sourced. Is very well done. Of course, he was working at another company. Now he is with jsmindset.com and is part of the Holter Sinclair collaboration over there. I'm talking about Bill Holter. Bill Holter, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
Well, Bill, you're a journalist, buddy. I mean, you were a Wall Street guy. You got a couple of decades of experience. You know all about the markets. You're paired up with one of I think, the smartest guys in the financial arena, and not just gold. I know they call him Mr. Gold, Jim Sinclair. But you can't, if you're going to trade gold, you got to know everything. It's like Bruce Lee. You have to train every part of your body. And so, so anyway, I just really appreciate having you on. I wanted to start off with you. I'm asking my guests here in January, at least the first part of January, about 2017. What do you see coming down the pipe in 2017? Big theme for 2017, according to Mr. Bill Holter.
Well, I wrote this, the first two articles of the year were titled around 2017, the year of the truth bomb. I've talked about truth bombs now for probably a year and a half, and I think that's what's going to happen in 2017 is that this hologram that we've been living is going to be the curtain's going to be pulled back.
Well, and when you wrote that article, you did not know that Julian Assange was going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to dump a bunch of stuff here. It's going to make your head spin. It's going to be crazy time." That was something you wrote. You were just predicting that, and sure enough, you and Julian Assange apparently are on the same page. And I know you don't know him.
No, of course I don't know him. I wrote that article, and I think within 24 hours, the headline came out from WikiLeaks. 2017 will blow your mind. And of course I was pleased to see that because I want to see the truth come out. That's why we do what we do.
Well, one of the big truths, and this is something I've been bringing up in the Weekly News Wrap-Up, and listen, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, and I did a lot of work on how unfair the mainstream press was to Donald Trump. It was off the charts. And but one of the things I brought up, and I like Donald Trump, but he's got some big problems with the bond market, and 20 trillion in debt, and we've got a lot going on. He must surely know this. I mean, he brought up early on in his campaign, and then boom, quit talking about it, and that was that we have to reorganize this debt. What say you about Donald Trump and what he is facing? Let's just start in the debt arena.
Well, he's a smart guy. He fully understands that really what he's going to be doing is presiding over a bankruptcy. That's what his main job is going to be, is reorganizing this country.
Is that one of the truth bombs that's going to come out, that people are going to realize, oh, really, you can't have that pension, and interest rates are going to go up, and we can't have full faith in credit, and we're going to reorganize our debt. Sorry, we can't pay.
Right. Well, I guess if you ask the question, does the average American believe we're broke? Well, yeah, I think deep down or in the back of their mind, they think we're broke, but we're living this lifestyle. We live this lifestyle, and this lifestyle is not going to change. I think when the lifestyle does change, that it's forced to be changed, then yeah, that's a gigantic truth bomb.
What's going to force it? What's going to force the change? Is it going to be spiking rates in the bond market, and all of a sudden bonds are going to be, all these 0% interest rates bonds overseas are going to turn to, to pudding? I mean, we got a lot of debt, and when the rates go up, it's harder to pay and worth a lot less.
Right. In one word, credit, or the lack of credit. That's what I've harped on for the last year now, is that credit is going to seize up. Think about how credit works. If you were a lender, would you lend to someone that is broke? And that's what this amounts to. The U.S. is broke. There's nothing left unencumbered. Pension plans are hollow. They're filled with debt. bad debt, debt that can't be paid back. Keep in mind that one man's debt is another man's asset, or one man's liability is another man's asset. And if the liability, if the debt can't be paid, then on the other side of the balance sheet, the assets have to be marked down. So,
and this is what you mean by talking about presiding over a giant bankruptcy in multiple areas. Even California, in the court system out there, is cutting their pensions. They're saying, sorry, we can't pay.
Exactly. It's everywhere. I mean, you see it. What is it? The Dallas Police Department. I think that's going to be a big theme this year, is that credit, and actually you're already seeing rumblings of it. You see LIBOR had just went over 1%. Overnight rates in China went to 80% last night. 80%. And that's a function of China trying to arrest the fall in the yuan. But 80%, the world spins, the world turns on credit. And I've written many times, I've said in interviews many times, that when credit dries up, so will distribution. And when distribution dries up, food doesn't make it to the stores, and you're going to have hungry people. One of the things I said, as soon as I found out that night, the night of the election, I said to myself, kind of tongue-in-cheek, smirking, I guess the FEMA camps aren't meant for us. The FEMA camps are meant for the other side. I mean, the plan was, and if you look at it, the plan was Hillary was going to get in, and you and I, Greg, and people who are watching this, we were targets of it. And the plan didn't work.
Yeah, no, plan didn't work. There was a soft coup, according to some sources, that the intelligence agencies, people in the agencies, released all this stuff, not the Russians. That it was homegrown, a soft counter coup, and it took down the civilian coup of the Clintons.
Right, but follow this through, Greg. When credit dries up, when credit ceases, and trucks don't move, and store shelves don't get filled, and EBT cards don't work, ATMs don't work, nothing works, you're going to see mass riots in the cities. And the cities will be ring-fenced, and people will gladly get on buses to go get food at FEMA camps.
I've thought the same thing. When they brought up all this stuff, I thought, people, they're not going to force them in there. Things are going to be so destitute that people will be like, hey, you want to shower? Would you like to have food and some hot food and some water? Just get on that bus and give us your cell phone. Thank you. Get right on there. Exactly. But in this case, if Trump is running it, they're not going to die. They're going to live.
Greg, one other area, as long as we're talking about truth bombs, would be this Russian hacking it's being brought, it's in front of, they're testifying in front of Congress today about it. Think about this. Russian hacking, it's not being claimed that they actually hacked any polls. The only polls that were supposedly hacked, I guess down in Georgia, they linked it back to Homeland Security or NSA or somebody. Yep. It's not being said that any of the leaks, any of the hacks were false. None of the emails have been denied.
That's right. They have actually confirmed all the information that WikiLeaks put out.
Right. And if you saw the interview the other day with Julian Assange, for the last 10 years, not one single piece of information that they've put out has ever been false. There's never been any allegations to anything that they've printed.
They've been allegations, but nobody's ever proven anything false. Right, they got a perfect track record. Allegations are one thing. They come out and they say, I don't know if that's real or not. And the Democrats did that. I don't know if that's real or not. Well, now they basically confirmed their authenticity with this Russian hacking charade that they're trying to say. Do the Russians commit espionage in the United States? Yes, yes. Are the Russians our good buddies? No, they're probably not our good buddies. But did they influence the election? And did they hack? No, no. This was an inside job. This was leaks.
Well, Greg, let me say this: if it was the Russians, and I highly doubt it.
Julian Assange says no, absolutely not. Now they're saying it's a third party. It was a third party that gave. Julian Assange doesn't know who gives him stuff. Come on.
Well, of course, but he's not going to reveal his source. But assuming that, well, whether it was or was not the Russians, the American people got to see some truth. So there's no doubt in my mind that what came out did affect the mindset of people that were going to the polls. I'm sure that some people were on the fence and saw statements from Hillary. Some of the Sanders people, I'm sure, saw that the election was stolen from them. The primary election was stolen from them.
Yes, they cheated because they didn't want to do the will of the people.
Right. Now, here's my point. All of these emails were true. The American people got to see the truth. Who cares if it was the Russians or not? And if it was the Russians, think about this. We're close to the same age, 60s babies. Back the days of TASS and Pravda and pure propaganda. Can you imagine it took, if it's true, which again I don't think it is, but if it's true, it took Russia to put the truth, the real truth, in front of the American people?
One of the biggest ones, one of the biggest things, and there's Pizzagate and all this other stuff, but I think one of the biggest one was her speeches where she told Wall Street, it's unbelievable. She told Wall Street, I have a public opinion, and then I have a private, my real opinion in private. And she's telling Wall Street that she just lies to the voters and then tells her Wall Street shills, her buddies that are giving her hundreds of millions of dollars, and that, well, I have a private policy, and then I have my public policy that really isn't the truth, which was an unbelievable truth bomb dropped in 2016 on her.
Well, and you're saying unbelievable truth bomb. If you believe WikiLeaks, 2016 was nothing compared to what they're going to drop this year.
What about the 2 trillion exposure over in Europe? People are thinking, oh, what goes on over there stays over there. And you say, oh, no, it doesn't. No,
and I've said this all along. Financially, globally, everyone's in bed with everyone else. I mean, who's got 2 trillion? Who can backstop $2 trillion?
2,000 billion.
Right.
Just for you home gamers out there. And also, you were telling me in the pre-interview, one of the facts you wanted to bring up is this: U.S. has a 325% debt to GDP ratio. Explain why that's horrifying.
Well, no, that's not the U.S.
Global. Global.
Global, yeah. That's horrifying because it can't be paid back. The debt is too large to pay back. So the only thing that can be done is a default of one sort or the other. Either the debt doesn't get paid, or the currency gets cheapened and making the debt easier to pay off. So going one step further, as I mentioned before, one man's debt is another man's asset. What that means is the asset values are going to have to be marked down.
Asset values, you're talking about stocks, bonds, especially the bond market. With Puerto Rican debt, for example, what's that worth? $70 billion that the whole mainstream press conference took a big yawn on. I'm like, $70 billion is not a big deal? Just for one little...
But if it gets marked down, maybe it's really only worth $5 billion or $10 billion.
Maybe it's worth zero.
Maybe it's worth zero, but the point being, those assets that people hold in their portfolio, the numbers that they see on their statement are just numbers. It's not, when this comes down, that's not real value. They're not going to be able to call on those assets to live, to eat, to pay bills. It's an asset collapse because the debt side collapses.
And wouldn't the brokerage? Well, you've worked in brokerage, you know all about this. If anybody thinks, oh well, if I get into trouble, I'll just sell my stocks and I'll be able to go to my brokerage and get my money. And you say,
To who?
sell stocks to who? So you won't be able to get your money. If you can sell stocks, you're saying you're not going to get your money out of the brokerage, one way or the other.
Well, you're not going to get what you think you have right now out. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get back dollars that don't have the same value as they have today. You're probably going to see lower. You probably initially see lower stock prices. I believe this will end in a hyperinflation. So you could see the Dow at 100,000. You could see it at 1 million. Who knows? But it won't have the same purchasing power as it has right now today.
Is this why? And I just wonder about the cabinet. There's a lot of if you start drilling down on the cabinet, I think one of the worst guys is Mnuchin from Goldman. I mean, he made a lot of money in the housing bust, and I think Trump's exposed there. I don't know if he's going to make it through. I think everybody else, I like everybody else. But everybody else they're all gold people. You were telling me in the pre-interview, they said, he's surrounding himself with gold people. What does that mean? What do you think that means, that he's all these possible appointments and cabinet members are all basically on the hard money side and the audit the Fed side? What does that mean to you?
Well, it tells me that he is warm to gold. He mentioned during his campaign phase, I think one time he said, abolish the Fed. He's talked about, quote, gold standard, not at length or anything, but just made a comment. And inside that comment, he alluded to the gold isn't here, it's gone to the east. I think he absolutely knows what's going on. And one of his close. Sorry about that, Greg.
It's all right.
One of his closest advisors over time has been Judy Shelton, and if you look her up, she is certainly a gold person, understands gold, and her belief, as I understand, is that we're going to move toward the SDR for clearing trade, and the SDR will be gold backed. And we should also talk about trade.
Let's do it.
One of the things Donald Trump has talked about, and this was a big draw of votes when he talked about raising a 35% tariff for any companies that leave the country. When they sell goods back into the country, they're going to have to pay a 35% tariff. Just this morning, China has made some threats regarding a trade war. Now, one of my fears is that it's a fear because I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but there's going to be a policy error, and this could be
on both sides probably. China is a lot weaker than a lot of people think. I mean,
right.
You got to raise your interest rates overnight to 80%. Something's wrong.
Right, and they are highly indebted also. But if you go back to 1929, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs.
Yep, mistake.
If we get into a trade war, it means trade is going to definitely slow down, if not, virtually cease. That's a really bad thing, especially for the U.S. And the reason I'm saying especially for the U.S. is because we don't make all the everyday products that we use.
We don't even make. I don't think there's a coffee maker made in America.
Well, that could be. I mean, we could go through product after product, but the point being, there's a lot of products that we don't make, and what that's gonna look like. First off, if we have a 35% tariff on stuff, that's inflationary.
Oh yeah.
And that's not inflation. The definition of inflation has to do with the increase in the money supply. It's an increase in prices. It'll be viewed as inflation. But more importantly, there's going to be a scarcity of goods. And once you get into a scarcity, just look at Venezuela. It started, what, a year and a half or 2 years ago with toilet paper. And look where they are now. Once you get into a scarcity of certain products, then people start hoarding. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I worry about a trade war, and I worry that this creating a tariff to keep companies within the U.S. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that there's ramifications that have not been thought all the way through yet.
Do you think that's what, if you take a look at 2017, you look down the field here, are you thinking that 2017, we got truth bombs, we have presiding over a bankruptcy, and maybe scarcity and inflation? Is that what you're seeing in 2017, all unfolding in 2017? Talk about that.
Well, I would add one other thing, and it just goes hand in hand. I mean, if we're in the middle of a, quote, a bankruptcy, and goods are becoming scarce, the financial system will come down very rapidly. Once it snaps, and I've said this before, is that once something somewhere truly snaps and control is lost, it'll probably only take 48 hours for everything to close. And under that scenario, I think there's a good chance you're going to see martial law.
People keep saying, and you've probably heard this a million times with JS Mindset, and I think this is such a big, personally, and I just want to preface this. Listen, I think this is such a big move that you are going to have no time. This is not going to be a small hiccup. This is going to be something you can ride out. This is going to be something that either you're prepared or you're screwed. Right. And I mean, I know a lot of people have been partying and Dow 20,000 and woo, look at that on that. Oh, if I would have just bought the Dow back in 2011, I'd have been up 100% and all that. But listen, you still have the assets in gold and silver. You should buy them. I mean, I think that, there's got to be money managers out there that have got to be freaked out thinking that their capital is going to be frozen. And their account's going to be frozen in these brokerages. They have to have money outside the system. There's no better money than outside the system. Gold, silver, diamonds, artwork, stuff like that. Do you think that when this thing happens and the system freezes, that some people will be bankrupt and never recover?
Oh, many people will be bankrupt and never recover. When you're talking about gold and silver, I do want to mention this. We know that back in 1933, gold was confiscated, and that's a possibility again. I can't see silver being confiscated, and for that reason I would definitely choose silver over gold. A, because chances of silver being confiscated are slim, and B, the ratio is wrong. The natural ratio, gold to silver coming out of the ground, is 9.5 or 10 to 1, yet the man-made price ratio is 70 to 1. So silver is very undervalued. And while we're on the topic of gold and silver, I know after the election, the last half of 2016, people who owned mining shares were down in the dumps. They felt horrible. But believe it or not, by far, owning mining shares in 2016 was the best place to have your money. The averages in the mining industry were up, I think, 60% or 70% for the year, which was far and away above any other asset class for 2016. And I think in the event, if we were to have a confiscation of gold, there'd be no better place to have gold than in the ground. When I say in the ground, at a mining company, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, they'll just nationalize the mines. I suspect that's not what's going to happen. I suspect that you may see worldwide countries actually funding mines to get into production so that they can create foreign reserves.
My question to this, I've thought a lot about this. One of the things I thought about is that maybe you should just have coinage, because coinage, half dollars, dimes, quarters, Sakakawea dollars, whatever. Those are treasury instruments, and of course, paper dollars, Federal Reserve notes, are debt instruments. That's bulky and heavy and all that. But I thought about this. I just find it hard to believe, and please comment on this. Maybe they might say, okay, you got to give up your Krugerrands, your Pandas, your Philharmonics, your Maple Leafs. But I find it hard to believe they're going to say, yeah, all that gold and silver we minted since 1986, that's all illegal now. Yeah, turn it back in. Isn't there going to be some differentiation between bars and stuff in storage and gold coins and then U.S. and then a foreign? Isn't there going to be? Can you talk about that a bit? Because I just find it hard to believe they're going to say all the stuff we've been selling you since '86 is now illegal. Give it back.
Well, they did that in 1933.
But those are dollars. Those are $20 gold pieces. They were using that as actual currency, and they're not using the gold eagle and the quarter ounces, half ounces, and silver eagles as any kind of currency. As a matter of fact, they have a $50 price tag on a gold eagle and $1 on a silver eagle, and we both know that's total BS.
Right, but I don't think there will be any differentiation if there is a confiscation. Gold is gold is gold. I do not believe that American Eagles would be not grouped in with that. As a matter of fact, when I was first buying gold with the thought of confiscation in mind years and years ago, I bought foreign coins as opposed to American coins. Just simply because I think it would be easier for the government to say it's illegal to hold one of our coins as opposed to holding a Canadian coin or a British coin or what have you.
Oh, the other side of the argument. I got it. Okay. Well, I just, of course, in today's times, nothing would surprise me. I just find it hard to believe they're going to go in. And I think all congressmen, at least all senators, there's not a one of them out that don't have a physical gold position. And there's no easier way to have a physical gold position than to have U.S.-made gold eagles. I think they all have them. That's what I think.
I'm sure.
They got to be crazy not to. I mean, they know what's going on. All the people that handle the money, Congress knows we have big problems. They have to be in gold.
Right, they're, for the most part, they know the country's broke. There's no doubt about that.
So, in the end, what do you think? What is it going to look like in? We just went through December, Christmas, and New Year's, and all that. So, at the end of 2017, what do you think the year end will look like? What do you think will have transpired, and what will we be facing at the end of this year?
Well, I don't think it's even going to resemble what today looks like. I think there's a very good chance. I mean, everything we talked about, I think you could see the financial system come down. It may be by the end of the year that the financial system is coming back up, coming back online. I have no idea when or how long, but I've said for years we're going to have a bank holiday. They're going to have some type of reset. And the reset will include a bank holiday. Your ATM won't work. Your credit cards won't work. Distribution is going to fail. Credit, it's all about credit. Everything financial, everything economic relies on credit. And I just believe that we're going to have a credit instance this year where credit either becomes very scarce or actually dries up completely. And in that scenario, it's not good. You're talking about distribution breaking down, people going hungry, riots, martial law, cross default from country to country to country to country, bank to bank to bank, broker to broker to broker. Everything runs and lives and depends on credit. And without credit, it's almost like caveman days.
Bill Holter of JSMindset.com, your business partner, Jim Sinclair. Love both of you guys. You're great. You do your podcast. You sell a subscription service. I think it's really cool. Before we get off, I've been following JS Mindset since, I don't know, '05 or '06 when I was at CNN. I love your stuff. I love your commentaries, you have with stories, and you have a little commentary about how important the story is, stuff like that. You guys have still maintained that at JS Mindset, and you've also developed a pay portion of the site. I think that's very smart of you guys doing that. If you look at JS Mindset, you think, oh, wow, it just looks like a totally free site. And then there's that extra addendum where you and Jim do interviews, and you get your personal articles that you put out to people, which are very very revealing and very, very well done. But anyway, your pay side, what does that cost now?
It's $119 for the year. I think we're going up here at the beginning of the year to $129 for the year. So figure $10 a month.
About $10 a month. Okay, well, listen, I'll put the links up to JS Mindset. I'm not plugging your stuff so much as I go to JS Mindset almost every day. So anyway, I really appreciate it. Thanks, Bill Holter, for coming on, USAWatchdog.com. Bill Holter of JSMindset.com, of the Holter Sinclair collaboration. Thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you, Greg.